You're just gonna like get mad at and you're just gonna hang up on me, so I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be a dick to me now, so
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
oh Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Well, we're just going to get into it. Hello, everybody. So many people asked me to talk about this, and for the longest time, I didn't even want to, but I decided we're going to talk about it. So I'm here with Carlos Morgan, and we're going to get into this conversation without further ado. So let's play this audio clip one more time and then we'll talk about it because this is the smoking gun that got everything started.
Hey, you're just gonna like get mad at and you're just gonna hang up on me, so I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be a dick to me now, so
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
oh Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Sigh.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that where to start? It's just so bad that this man who's 56 years old, and we don't know when this audio clip happened, but it obviously happened within the past couple of years that they were involved, because from what I hear, they were involved for a couple of years. So whether it was last year, the year before, any way you look at it, it's so awful. And just being with an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, whatever she is, I think now she's 20, and he's 56, and he's having this kind of banter with this woman as a Black man. This is not good for him.
No.
What say you, Carlos?
Well, in terms of when it took, when that conversation took place, so let's see if we can go through the chronological order. They met in 2023, and I think it was towards the end of 2023, maybe around October of 2023, October, November, between the fall, the fall or winter of 2023 is when they met. Then they had their relationship through 2024, and the relationship ended in 2020, January of this year. And I think the conversation from the reports that I've been hearing, I could get this wrong, so if somebody wants to, if they know the correct timeline of what they've heard, they want to say it in the chat. But I think this conversation took place either in January, February of some time. I think I say January. So because this conversation was so recent, and how he is speaking to a 56-year-old, because he's 56 now. So they met when he was 54 and she was 19. So she's 21. maybe 21, 22. So a 56-year-old man having a conversation with this child, because, you know, this could be, in terms of age, this could be his daughter, right? And the way he's speaking with her, as we were saying, you and I were saying earlier, that I don't think if he were to have that kind of conversation with a woman his age, or maybe even 4, 5, 6, 10 years younger, the conversation and the tone of the conversation wouldn't go that way. But you hear the way she sounds, how she speaks, the um, even the maturity in her voice, in her speaking voice. And he, in my opinion, this is just all my opinion, it's like his attitude, his behavior, his tone, the attitude, even came down to a level of immaturity in the way he was speaking with her. And so, like you, it's it's disturbing on many levels. You know, him saying that he was going to choke her. Now, we all know that, putting hands on a woman, or threatening to put hands on a woman, is a no-no. So we'll make that part very clear. But for me, there's also there's aspects where I'll say confused, and I'm saying the word confused very lightly, because when we read through the text messages of the conversations that Shannon Sharpe or his legal team released, and we read the way they're speaking to each other about their sexual exploits, and she's even saying, "Well, choke me and do these things to me," and from all accounts, from what we're seeing so far, based on the text messages, is that she's initiating these conversations. And even according to what Shannon said in his video statement, that she was the one who had initiated these kind of the sexual relationship that they had. And his lawyer, I was watching an interview with his lawyer, Shannon Sharpe's lawyer, this afternoon, where he was saying that, based on the quote unquote investigation they've done so far, that she was the one who initiated many of the sexual exploits that they engaged in. So, and choking was a part of it. So he says to her, "I'm going to choke you, and you don't have a say in the matter." Now, the question that comes up for me is, and please, everybody hear me who's hearing me say this, I'm not condoning what he said, and I'm not condoning the threat, but based on the conversations that they had in their sexual banter, the question for me is, when they were having that conversation that you just played, that was recorded and released, could that have been a part of their banter? Now it's in a different context, because they're on the phone, and you hear there's a bit of a tense, there's a bit of a tense moment between them. It's not in that sexual banter, if you will. It's more on the opposite side. But even on the opposite side, because there is so much of the explicit speaking, or talking of sexual exploits they're going to do amongst each other, there could be some, and this is just me speculating, there could be some overlap of what was sexual, and now it's in a different situation, but now it's clouded, and they're still speaking this way, or he's saying to her, "I'm going to choke you, and you don't have a choice in it." And then later on, he says something along the lines of, in the same conversation, a black man choking, a big black man choking a small white woman. So there can, that alone, in my opinion, can be the quote unquote smoking gun that he is putting out there, that, okay, so now if people know that I said something like this, they're going to look at a big black man who's talking about choking a young woman, and it's in a violent manner. But up to that point, all through their relationship or their sexual relationship and the way they conducted themselves with each other, to the text messages where she was talking about choke me and I'm gonna do this and you're gonna do that and I want to, you know, do we take what he says to heart in that regard? Now, again, one of the main conversations that's been had we hearing about amongst many people, and you and I will agree on this, is yes, he's a 56-year-old man having a conversation like this with a 19 or 21-year-old girl, 21 young woman who is still very immature, in my opinion. Let me just say that. A 56-year-old man having a conversation with a young woman. The next issue is she's white. So, and we know the history of black men engaging in relationships with white women. And so now you add the age, the 30 plus year age difference, and he's in a level of authority or a position of power in terms of age, in stature, right? So it doesn't look good for him, and yeah, the age issue, the race issue for sure, in my opinion. It should not be engaging in this kind of thing. And now she's coming after him for $50 million. He gets an opportunity. He's about to sign a major deal. That's off the table. Or, sorry, let me rephrase that. The possibility of him losing that deal can be a high probability. He announced that he's taking a leave of absence from ESPN. But is ESPN going to want him back? I was listening early today from one of the commentators, because it's all over. It's huge on social media right now. But one of the commentators were saying that he's going to take a leave of absence, and and then they said 90% of ESPN's viewership are men, and I think they would say about between 65 to 70% of the viewership are white men. So if he plans on coming back, the question I'm going to put out there is, does he think that these white men are going to be like, yeah, this big elderly, quote unquote, black man threatens a young white woman, and we don't want to see no black man, or we don't want to see no N-word who's made a threat to do what he's going to do to a white woman, and we're not going to watch him, or we're just going to boycott ESPN, and they're going to lose their viewership, they'll lose their sponsors, and ESPN is not going to take that risk. Not going to do that, because it's their bottom line, and they're going to think about their viewers and satisfying their viewers, and and advertising, and again, the sponsors and everything that keeps that ship running on ESPN. ESPN, they're not going to hire this guy back or ask him to come back. As far as I'm concerned, that ESPN is done for him. So he has done himself a huge disservice by engaging with this child, having the kind of conversations he's had with this child, a young white woman, a white woman. And then the next point, and I'll just make this my last point, is for the mere fact that he offered her $10 million for it to go away. Now he's saying he didn't do anything wrong. He shouldn't have offered her anything in the first place, because if it were me, and I've heard other men say this, I understand there's a part that he didn't want this stuff to come out in public. She was going to, right? And as you know, now she I guess she had it in her mind to expose him, because she had a plan. She played him well. She played him well. So he finds out she's gonna go public. He says, "I'll give you $10 million, but I didn't do anything wrong." She said, "Why are you offering her money in the first place?" So, yeah. What do you say?
Yeah, DJ Anna Love says there's so many layers to this situation, and it's so true. There are a lot of layers, but the problem is the main layers is black man, older black man, young white woman, and an SA allegation. And then, like you just said, he offered 10 million. She said no. She wants 50 million. And it's not even a criminal suit, it's a civil suit. So then the question begs, what are you really after here? But at the end of the day, for black men, you're literally have a really bad odds when you're in a situation like this. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about in show is that when he had Cat Williams on, remember when he had Cat Williams on and it literally almost broke the internet? Cat Williams also talked about how scared he is of involving himself with, a white woman. So let's just watch that and we'll talk about it.
Take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter. So I stayed away from that.
You see Jonathan Majors, what he went through, Marvel dropped him as soon as they're guilty.
Wait, I'm going to rewind it a bit.
I didn't want to get with a white woman because I was scared she might have me running down the street like Jonathan Majors.
There you go. Come on, Cat.
Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. But I'm not going to act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter. So I stayed away from that.
You see Jonathan Majors, what he went through, Marvel dropped him as soon as they're guilty. The conviction came out, and you were telling the
Hey, you saw that black woman come get his charge cut in half? Thank you, Megan Good. God bless you, coming to save that slave. If he'd had to be there by himself, he was getting all four. Guilty. She came in there, was just so beautiful, they had to knock half of it off. Bless his heart.
So one thing that landed on me here is when Cat Williams was talking about how a white woman can take you down in, just minutes or, Shannon said he talked about what happened with Jonathan Majors and how Marvel dropped him. So he's literally sitting there seeing what Jonathan Majors has gone through and how, it wasn't just Marvel, his publicist, everybody dropped him off of this woman's allegation. So the idea that he was sitting there knowing what he's doing, right? I'm just like, wow. And then you hear Cat Williams also say, and this black woman came along and loved him through it.
Yeah.
And in a better place.
Right.
AJ, the immortal, said that there's more news popping up online from Shannon being released from CBS for an SA misconduct. Then Fox paying off a woman to keep quiet about Shannon being physical with her. So he said he's not sure if it's true, but that's the latest thing now. So we knew that was going to happen. I said this earlier, when we were talking about it. It's like there's one mouse, there's more than one mouse. So one woman comes forward, then we know the other ex has come forward now too. And I think it's going to be a domino effect. We're going to see more and more and more of that. But what do you have to say about what Cat Williams said?
Two things. I'm going to start with the second one first. That second thought that came to me first, I'm going to mention that. When he was talking about, I think this is it. A part of me listening to that, the thought that came to my mind was, did Cat know what was going on with, he was talking about the issue that was going on with Jonathan Majors, but did Cat also know about Shannon Sharpe's exploits with white women as well? So
that's a good question. He may have known, and he was almost, it was like a hidden message.
Exactly, because I'm listening to that, I'm like, because I've watched that interview a number of times, and I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't remember what led or what prompted that part of the conversation to come about, where they're talking about Jonathan Majors, Cat Williams, and Shannon Sharpe are talking about Jonathan Majors. I can't remember, how it led to that, but just watching the clip you just played, that's the thought that came to my mind. It's like, yeah, I'm afraid of white women. Yeah, they're great as anybody else, but we can see what white women have the power to do, especially when it comes to Black men. We see what they can do. So they were talking about Jonathan Majors, but did Cat Williams know what Shannon Sharpe was up to as well? To say, yeah, dude, I'm not going to call you out here on your show, but I'll say what I'm afraid of, but put it out there to you, Shannon, that you need to be careful. That's the thought that came to my mind.
And you know what? Maybe at some point, Cat will speak. Mm-hmm. But when we're talking about people warning, Monique also told him when she sat there on his podcast, and we're going to hear it now.
And that was, and before you play it, and that was earlier this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on. They talk to us. Dating. What advice? If somebody, if a group of women were in here and it's like, come on. They talk to us. This dating thing. Because it's Mo, it's different now. Than when you and I.
It's different, baby. I'm grateful I'm not 56 and trying.
But you tried to say, what you tried to say, Mo?
I'm looking right at you.
I know you looking at me.
I ain't backing down. You better take your old ass and get somebody to love you.
Damn, Mo.
Now I'm looking right at y'all. Let me tell y'all what Shannon needs.
Let me
tell you what my baby needs. He need him an old fat gal who can bake good cakes, make some smothered turkey wings, who gonna rub his feet at the nighttime, okay, and gonna have a sip of his cognac to make him feel better about himself when he come home at night. That's what Shannon needs. You don't need no 26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl.
I know.
This is your auntie talking to you. Take your old ass and get you an old bitch out there that can love you old. You're trying to hang out with these young bitches, and you can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it. I'm talking right to you. Come on now. These young gals will bite you. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, guess I gotta come on home.
Come on home, Shannon.
She said it.
Those young girls will bite you. And AJ said Monique may have had an idea too. Oh, she definitely did. Yeah. Because the way she was talking, it was like, I know you're dealing with young women.
Yeah.
And she was like, stop it. Get yourself an old woman. So I think AJ, I think she knew. And Agreed. She was trying to tell him. And if you watch the whole clip, at some point she was saying, "Don't think I'm afraid to say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you."
Yeah.
Because he was like, "Well, what are you trying to say?" So I'm saying it straight out. So I think she really did know.
Yeah.
And we heard from Kat, we heard from Mo, and now we're going to hear from Shannon himself, who's going to speak on all these people that are telling him stay away from young women and what he had to say.
What?
I want to date my wage.
Let me just go.
Everybody
back.
always talk about date your age, date your age. Well, I want to date my wage. I'm finna shut all this ish down tonight. I want to date my wage.
Stay right there. Stay right.
Where y'all at? Hey, chat, where they at?
Hold on. Because I keep it on me now.
Yeah.
I keep it on me. You want to date your what?
I want to date my wage. Not my age. I want to date my wage. So where are they? Because y'all always talking about date your age, date your age. I want to date my wage. So come on with it.
Well, you talking?
As a matter of fact, I'm taking applicants as we speak.
Well, you talking spicy tonight.
I just want to play it one more time because it's like we got to get into this. So people have warned him about, to the people that are just joining now, we're talking about Shannon Sharpe. We're talking about this $50 million lawsuit from this young white woman, and how this is going to affect his career going forward and his reputation for that matter. Mm-hmm. And we talked about people that have warned him. And this is his response to the people that have warned him.
Mm-hmm. Everybody always talk about date your age, date your age. Well, I want to date my wage. I'm finna shut all this ish down tonight. I want to date my wage.
Stay right there. Stay right.
Where y'all at? Hey, chat, where they at?
Hold on. Because I keep it on me now.
Yeah.
I keep it on me. You want to date your what?
I want to date my wage. Not my age. I want to date my wage. So where are they? Because y'all always talking about date your age, date your age. I want to date my wage. So come on with it.
Well, you talking?
As a matter of fact, I'm taking applicants as we speak.
Well, you talking spicy tonight.
Okay, could I respond to that, please? He says he want to date his wage. Okay, so I Googled what his net worth is at the moment. It says his net worth is $14 million. That's what his net worth is at the moment. It had a potential of being more, but we'll see what happens in the days or weeks to come. Because they're saying, okay, he's taken a leave of absence from ESPN. I heard earlier that his Club Shay Shay show is in jeopardy. Okay, so there's millions of dollars that he could potentially lose there as well. Now he's saying he wants to date his wage, but the thing about Shannon Sharpe is he's been dating, at least for a very long time, only white women. Right? Now, so if he wants to date his wage, why is he only focusing on one group of women? And no, those women don't have. Well, I'm going to strongly. I'll strongly suspect that the women that he's been dating, the white women that he's been dating, don't have his quote unquote wage. And there may be a lot of sisters and non-white or non-black women who are not white don't have $14 million. But my thing is, he talking about dating his wage. So if he wants to, so why doesn't he, instead of making it about money, make it about character, right? Make it about their character. But what we're seeing right now is Shannon's character is called into serious question, right? So he's got this thing, his perspective, and this is my opinion again, just me, his perspective and his outlook on him wanting to date his wage, but his wage now is going to, or can possibly diminish. So what wage is he going to have that he wants to quote unquote date his wage? Like, dude, like.
And also, he's talking about dating his wage. This teenager, who's an OnlyFans model,
Mhm.
how's that working out for him? Because
Exactly.
that same person that I guess he felt like matched him wage wise is now taking him for all of his money.
Exactly.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, you said you're taking applications for people for that you want to date your wage.
And what I found, sorry to interrupt you. What I found hypocritical, and was talking about wanting to date his wage but not his age, but yet he's dating someone who's 30 plus, it's his junior.
That's my whole point, is like, what did she have to offer? And really and truly, what does an 18-year-old, like, what can you possibly have in common, or even to talk about important things, even as a Black man navigating through life, like just important social issues, all of these things. What once you leave the bedroom, what have you got? Nothing.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
how, as far as, even if we're just going to say wage isn't only monetarily, it's about just your hierarchy, your level, how is that person somebody that he would take her application and she managed to match his wage? That's what I don't get. And their conversations, their banter, if you're into that kind of BDSM life, okay, fine. But to me, it sounds very juvenile. And he sounded juvenile on that call with her, talking the way they were talking. It didn't sound like a 56-year-old man to me. It sounded like somebody that matched her. It was two teenagers talking. Even their text messaging exchanges and stuff, it sounds juvenile. And this is really going to affect him. Like, I don't even know how you come back from this other than go away for a while, gather yourself, lay low, try and settle this thing and move on, and maybe you'll be able to come back. Maybe if he lands a good interview with somebody like an Oprah or something, where he'll have that opportunity to speak his side of the story. I don't know. I'm saying is that right now, everybody's talking about this. The general consensus is the same, which is, Shannon, we have told you, Uncle has told you, Auntie Mo has told you, Cat Williams has told you, everybody's told you. And, he's seen what has happened to some Black men, like Jonathan Majors. He's seen what has happened. And even through all of that, what he was doing, it never occurred to him that it was probably not a good idea to have text messages like that, to have phone conversations like that, in his mind, I guess, because he's been doing this for a long time, I guess he thought, I don't have to worry. Like a lot of, Black men will say, is this one is different. Maybe this one is different,
Mm-hmm.
and you can speak to that because
Absolutely.
you have been in relationships with white women. So I will, let you speak on that as well, as to why are Black men seeing what is happening to a lot of Black men at the hands of white women, yet they still stay there, or they'll be in a relationship and continue to just only be with white women. And you see all of these Black men falling by the sword.
Yeah. And as you said, I could speak to personal experience many times. Even when I was in some of the relationships, or most of the relationships I was in, interracial relationships I had, there was always a part of me saying I shouldn't be here, but this person is different, and I did it every time. Gave these white women the benefit of the doubt, and just like Well, Mo didn't say, she didn't say that, but I'll say it, again, speaking on personal experience, that these white women will bite you, right? They will bite you. And so, the issue of black men going with white women, and we're seeing more black women who are becoming in relationships with white men, is becoming more prevalent, becoming more common. We're seeing interracial relationships, and we hear the saying, okay, people could love who they love, and should be with the people they fall in love with. I'm all for that as well. However, love also, there's politics in being in love and being in a relationship. Like, there's politics everywhere. But when you're dealing with interracial relationships, especially because of the history between melanated people and non-melanated people, quote unquote, black people and white people, or people of African descent and European descent, the history that the black diaspora and the white diaspora have, there is very, very deep-rooted, deep-seated issues that, in my opinion now, that I've come to, or that I've always held, but I kept turning my face away until I said, you know what, I'm not doing it anymore. The issue is that black interracial relationships, I'll say it like this: we live in a society where the construct of racism and white supremacy permeates and pervades almost 99%, if not 100%, of society and life, especially in North America, but Canada, US, many parts of the world, if not all over the world, but many parts of the world. And you know what? I'll say all over the world. White supremacy, we were having this conversation the other day, that white supremacy pervades every part of the world. Okay. Now, but it's very prevalent. Also, the ideology of white supremacy is also very prevalent in racialized communities, and it's very prevalent within the black community, the ideology of white supremacy. So when we have many people in the black community who hold on to that ideal, that ideology, and want to hold on to, or to coalesce, or to push, or seek validation from whiteness or through whiteness, and they will, minimize, demoralize, demonize, vilify even their own people to uphold whiteness. We as a black people have to stop that enslavement and that colonization and that imprisonment and shackle that so many of the black community are still under, who want to roll up, especially with black men getting with white women. And it took me a long time, took me a while to say, okay, I know this has always been, but I've been giving these women the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not giving any more white women any more benefit of the doubt. In my personal opinion, black men or black people should not be involved in interracial relationships with white people. That's my personal opinion, because unless white people are doing the work, the conscious work to dismantle, destroy, deconstruct their intrinsic racist and white supremacist attitudes, mindsets, beliefs, character, conduct, whether conscious or subconscious, they are all racists. And I'm not saying this. This is proven statistic. This is proven research of white people and racism and being racist, and then when they enter into relationships with racialized people, predominantly and specifically Black people, the dynamics there. So when in this situation now, coming back to Shannon Sharpe only focusing on the last 3 or 4 relationships he's been with have been white women. And now he's got this little girl who's taken him down. And again, this happened many, many times. It's happened to me. Not full transparency, but I'll share a teeny bit of my story where, yes, I have been in relationships with white women, and I've been put through hell with white women, be it as friends or in relationships. I have gone through something similar to what, not to the depth or extent that Shannon Sharpe is going through, but I've been through it. And so, it's like we as Black men need to stay away from these white women. And because, we will get demonized, we get vilified, like how we are portrayed. It's not the same as the white male counterparts, and they'll do the same thing. They'll do this. If this was a white man doing the same thing, or that did the same thing that Shannon Sharpe did, okay, probably, it may be out there, but would there be such scrutiny and such, the reaction and the response that he's been receiving? Would it be, and again, I'm just posing this question, but would it be, if it was a white man, would a white man be going through the same thing Shannon Sharpe has gone through, and so many others? Now, at the same time, Shannon Sharpe, and like others, R. Kelly, and others, right? Sean Combs or Pitt Diddy, they created this monster. They did it. So they play a huge role in their own destruction and their own demise because of their conduct and their behavior and the things that they did and the way they abused women and exploited women and mistreated women and the misogyny and the sexism and the abhorrent behavior that they treated women with. They are responsible. They are accountable for their actions, right? And they should be held accountable for their actions. But however, and at the same time, though, when white women are held at such a place of, I'll say, regalness, if you will, they're held on such a high stature, right? It's like you hear this all the time. We talk about white women tears all the time, right? The most dangerous thing, if the most dangerous thing in the world are white women tears, right? White women cries and everything shuts down, and we've seen throughout history where, let's talk Emmett Till, right? One of the biggest stories, and so many others. A white woman calls rape, says this happened, you're done. You're finished. And it's a Black man, forget it. Don't forget it. You're done. Forget it. So again, this issue with Shannon Sharpe, it's, I hope Black men are looking at this, but as you just said, a few moments ago, be like, yeah, that's Shannon Sharpe. That's not going to happen to me. And but it may not happen to you in that regard. But again, speaking from personal experience, and I know other Black men who have shared, yeah, I'm in a relationship with she's good and she's this and she's that, but I've also dealt with situations where I've been racialized. So there.
Yeah, if it was a white man, it would have been a different outcome for sure, because when it comes to a black man, it's, you're already convicted because you're black, and in this case, he's an older man, and we're talking about a young white woman who is saying she was violated, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she must have some serious receipts, because when it comes to the 10 million, and Shannon Sharpe has gone on record to say the reason why he offered that to her is because he's trying to avoid a lot of his personal private interactions with her to come out to the public. So people are saying, oh, by offering 10 million, it's an omission of guilt. You're like literally saying you're guilty and you're just trying to make this go away. And he's saying, well, no, it's not that. It's just that I don't want my private life out here. She's already released this audio. I'm sure she's got plenty more. And maybe he's just trying to mitigate that. But whatever way you look at it, it's not a good look, you know. And this woman clearly is not like, oh, I'm in love with this man and I just want to be with him. She's like, I want $50 million, because when she was offered 10 million, she said no. So it's about money for her. It's about money, and it's
Well,
going
she
to
did.
cost.
Well,
It's
she
going to
did say
cost.
so. She won $25,000 a cheek.
There you go. So we talked about, we've talked about the warnings. We talked about what Cat Williams, I'm sorry, not Cat Williams,
Monique.
what Shannon Sharpe said about,
Mm.
dating younger people. And AJ said superstar athletes normally develop, an attitude that they're untouchable. That is true. They get a little bit of power, they get high up there, and they feel like these women want to be with them so badly that heaven forbid if they're out to take him down. And that is so, so true. I agree with that. But let's hear from a woman. So we have this woman, her name, she goes by Proud Black Woman on TikTok, and her TikTok is about encouraging Black women to date outside their race, because Black men as a collective don't really do well, or do well by Black women or white women for that matter. As far as she's concerned, she says Black men literally are like, have the highest percentage or highest rate of, abandoning their children, putting hands and feet on their women, all of the bad things that, treatment in general of Black women or women in general. So she's a big advocate for be in interracial relationships. And so she's going to weigh in on this situation with Shannon Sharpe.
When they go outside their race, they end up in these situations. Shannon Sharpe is 56 years old and still chasing OnlyFans models and women who are 30 some years younger than him. But this is something that is prevalent in the mindset of many Black men. Black men are the most hypersexual. So telling them to stay away from OnlyFans models and leaving white women alone, they're not going to do that, because at the end of the day, as long as they're getting sex, they're okay with it. That is one thing Black men will risk. They will risk it all behind sex, especially when it comes to a white woman. There is no help for these dudes, especially a 56-year-old man. So I don't really care if the allegations are true or not. The point is, you have a 56-year-old Black man who put himself in that situation. So the problem is him. And this is typical of Black men with money who chase after younger women and who also chase after white women. All I ask is that they stay away from Black women when they get caught up in trouble. I think Black women need to mind their business. I don't need to see any Black woman online talking about Black men, stay away from them. Y'all don't need to tell these dudes nothing. They know what they're doing. They're okay with taking the risk. That's none of Black women's business. Black women need to mind our business and be happy that it ain't us. That's the only thing we need to be worried about here is a Black woman was not harmed in this situation. Black men love to be fetishized by white tea women. That's a fetish for them as well. So as much as y'all want to say white women fetishize them, they fetishize white women. They're no better. So this is the bed that Shannon Sharpe wanted to lie in. So let him lay in it.
Well, you know what? She's saying that Black women should basically sit this out and mind our business and stuff. And when we go back to the situation with Jonathan Majors, Megan Good didn't mind her business at all. She took a chance, even though she was warned by many people, don't get involved with this man. Like, do not put yourself in his mess. Stay out of it. But she hung in there, and now they're married, and she said it's the healthiest and happiest relationship she's ever had. And Jonathan Majors is doing better. So personally, I always have an issue with Black men who only involve themselves with white women. Like, they're not even trying to deviate at all. I personally, if I had to be in a relationship, I would be turned off by that, because it really would be a conversation of why, like, and what is it about me that all of a sudden you're interested in a Black woman, and I don't really know if I want to be that experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, to what the young sister said there, I agree with her, especially the fetishization part, that Black men do fetishize white women. And again, I'll speak to that. Admittedly, there were some aspects where I fetishized white women.
What
But
about the white woman? Do you think that they fetishized
oh,
you?
absolutely, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And I think it was more them fetishizing, more me fetishizing me more than I did them, because I didn't understand. Um, I didn't, to be honest with you, I never really heard the word fetishize until probably 4 or 5 years ago, and the meaning, and then was like, oh, that's just like when I heard the word code switching. When I heard fetishize, the word fetishize, and the terminology of code switching, and what those words meant, I was like, wow. And so I would look back throughout my life, and many times that I've shared with you, one of the reasons why I got into interracial, one of the reasons why I got into interracial relationships, and fetishizing a white woman, to my awareness, wasn't one of those things. There were times where, if it was a situation where I was in a quote unquote relationship with a white woman, but it wasn't really a relationship, it was more, we're just dating, there could have been some fetish from my part. Um, um, but I feel that I was mostly, if not completely, fetishized, because me being Black, and then add on top of that I'm a musician, right? So Black musician, um, just like athletes, many Black men, you know, you hear a lot of Black men, they get involved with white women, especially when they become successful, because we hear the story, well, when you get involved with a Black woman, it ups, your stature increases, and you become more closer to whiteness. You become, more in proximity to whiteness when if you are a successful musician, or you're a successful athlete, and you have a white woman on your arm. Oh, now, right, you'll have more. You look differently at, right? So I think that is more for black men going in. Well, I can't. Now that I'm making millions of dollars a year, me being with a black woman, that may not be a good look. But now with a white woman, I'll
Okay,
be
so
accepted.
why is that though? Why do black men say me being successful and being with a black woman is not a good look? Why is that in the black man's mind?
But I can't. You know what? I can't. Well, I can't speak for. I can't speak for what's in the black man's mind, but I can speak for what the message is uh, because again, white women are held as the default of beauty, of of being the most desired, most wanted woman, right? So and black women, and it's true to what Malcolm X said, that the most disrespected woman in America, the most disrespected woman in the world is the black woman. The most unwanted woman in the world, as many as you see, as many black, many black women are desired, but it's also equal, and even maybe even a little bit more, where black women are not desired as much as white women are desired, right? So when black men will be like, well, yeah, if I want to be I'm successful, and if I want to get into certain circles, especially where there's powerful men, you know, I may, being with a white woman will up my stature. And even some of the white men that they will accept them, they're not going to fully accept them because, and part of the reason is because one, they're black, and then two, they're with a white woman. Because majority of white men hate seeing a white woman with a black man. They hate it, right? So but in the black man's mind, it's like, oh well, I can't be with a black woman now, because now being with this white woman will get me into certain spaces and certain places than me being with someone of my who being with a black woman. um and then once they get a bit of the taste, then the trigger of fetishization can kick in. But that's my opinion of black men. White women, though, fetishizing black men, this goes back to slavery. This goes way back to slavery, right? So, yeah, but I'm going to say it again, man. Brothers, stay away from these white women. Black men, stay away. And I'm saying to the black women too. Black women, stay away from these white men. And if you want to call me racist, which I'm not, I'm just for black unity and black people unifying, loving each other, and building our people and building our community, because we are a mess and we need to unify to fix what we're doing. And when we are getting into other people and their communities and doing what they're doing and following their agendas and their ideologies and their ways and their life, that's why we as a community, we're dying. Black people, we're dying.
And if I don't know how many more times something like this has to happen for our community to really start thinking about who we choose to share our lives with, because I believe that we're seeing this play out because this is a major public figure and very, very, well known personality. But for the people that you don't see day to day, that, are not celebrities, are not athletes, etc., it's happening way more
Yeah.
than we know,
Yeah.
So, but it's happened enough in the public eye, in the celebrity space, in the athletic space, and all those spaces for people to really start saying, you know what, like this sister said, are you really willing to take that risk? She says, black men do, they will take the risk. And now, how many times you have to see it before you stop saying to yourself, this one is going to be different, or this one's different,
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, love who you love. They say the heart wants what the heart wants. Nobody's telling you who to choose. Just saying, when you see all of this happening time and time and time again, do you just say, well, it's that person's poor judgment, but that, we can't paint everybody with a broad brush. Granted. But how many times do we have to see this before we really sit up and take notice?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my final, thought. And then also just, Shannon Sharpe, Godspeed. And I
Yes.
really hope that after this, you really start thinking about, how you're going to navigate through life and relationships at this age. At this age, maybe an OnlyFans model is probably not a good idea at the age of 18.
Probably it's not a good idea.
Maybe it's, a black woman that's like 45. You know what I'm saying? And what does he say? His wage. Maybe that's what you need to be doing. Okay. And let go of all of this DBS, whatever that life is that you're living. Like, come on, we're not 20. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, grow up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my final word. And then AJ says here in the Caribbean, hey, shout out from the Caribbean. There's an aspect of wanting to date a white woman. Men tend to gravitate towards Spanish women, etc., of a lighter skin tone. And that is true in the Caribbean. It happens a lot in Jamaica too, and other parts of the Caribbean. You have the passport bros too, so it definitely does happen. But again, you have to be careful. You have got to be careful.
Yep. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You got to be careful because, when they're we're we are I don't want to say victims. We're not. We are causing our own destruction and our own demise, and we got to think with our head here and not our head below, right? And stop the this craziness, because it's a shame that Uncle Shay Shay, successful Hall of Fame football player, transitioned from football into media and becoming successful, and then some young child outsmarted him, and now he's paying for it, and it's sad. It's disappointing, So as you just said, I hope you'll be able to navigate through this, and he won't lose a lot, I hope that $100 million deal can be salvaged, and again, as soon as the $100 deal is announced, she comes out and they release this thing. So they played this Gabrielle Zuniga and Tony Busby. They played this brilliantly, but at the same time, if he loses the $100 million deal, he doesn't get picked up from ESPN, and there's other things that could be threatening his possibility of becoming more financially stable and astute. They're not going to get that $50 million. So they should have took the $10 million and just kept it moving, because now they've shot themselves in the foot.
Well, it speaks to a bigger picture. Like, that's why I've asked myself, well, what is the real objective? Okay, yeah, you want money, but if you take him down and he no longer is getting money or making that money, you're not going to get the money. But what ultimately did you accomplish? Did you really just want to take this man down?
And here's the other thing.
Because she makes money. So, right? So was it really just about assassinating this man's character and just taking him down in the end? Because, like you said, you can get sued civilly, but if you don't have the money,
right? And
nobody's wins here.
And again, you and I were talking about this earlier. Since this, I'm sure her OnlyFans has skyrocketed, right? And the next point is, if she was raped, as she claimed, Why did she not go to the police at the same time? Because she has evidence. She has audio evidence of Shannon saying, I'm going to choke you, and there's nothing you can do to stop me, and you're going to take it. But she just decides to go after him civilly first.
That's why I feel like it's you just want to take this black man down. You do. You want to take him down, and you and your lawyer are doing exactly that. And unfortunately, like this sister said, he laid in that bed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he made that bed. And he did lay in that bed. So now he's got to, like, he literally, I honestly don't know how you come back from this. But that's my final thought.
Yes.
Thank you, brothers and sisters, for tuning in.
Yes.
Continue to drop your comments and your feedback and your thoughts and your feelings below. And we will be back again talking about another burning hot topic.
Yes.
So, adios, everyone.
Peace.
See you soon, EAU fan.
All right.